Okay, after we see a few terms that is important in the frequency distribution, let's see a few method or a few way to represent or to graphing our quantitative data. So the first one is the relative frequency distribution. So the class frequency can be expressed as a fraction of the total number of observation. Okay, so kita ada kelas dan setiap kelas ni dia ada frekuensi tertentu. Contohnya macam dekat table ni. Okay, kelas ini menggambarkan skor pelajar 35 sampai 43. So 35 sampai 43 ada 4 orang. 44 sampai 52 ada 5 orang. 53 sampai 61 ada 13 orang. 62 sampai 70 ada 9 orang. 71 sampai 79 ada 5 orang. 80 sampai 88 ada 3 orang. 89 sampai 97 ada seorang. So ini kita panggil dia sebagai kelas interval. Okay, kita panggil dia sebagai kelas interval. This one is our class interval. Okay, so the one with the lower value is called as a lower limit, while the one with the higher value is called as the upper limit for that class. Okay, so this one is the lower limit and this one is the upper limit for the second class. This one is the lower limit and this one is the upper limit. This one is the lower limit, this one is the upper limit. Okay, so if we have been asked to find what is the lower boundary and the upper boundary for each class, we just need to remember that lower boundary and upper boundary can be found where the lower boundary is 0.5 before lower limit. Kalau kita nak kena cari lower boundary dan upper boundary ataupun class boundaries, okay, awak kena ingat untuk lower boundary is 0.5 sebelum lower limit. So this one is your lower limit 35. So 0.5 sebelum 35 adalah 34.5. Okay, this one the lower limit will be 43.5. 0.5 sebelum 44. 0.5 sebelum 53 is 52.5. And then we have 61.5. And then we have 70.5, and then we have 79.5, and then we have 88.5. Okay, this one is the lower limit. So the lower boundary will be 0.5 before lower limit. So what is the upper boundary for each class? Upper boundary will be 0.5 after upper limit. Okay, so 43, 0.5 after 43 will be 43.5. 0.5 after 52 will be 52.5. 0.5 after 61 is 61.5. And you have here 70.5. You have 79.5. You have 88.5. And the last one is 97.5. So this is the class boundary. Okay, and if you see the upper boundary for this class is the lower boundary for the next class. Okay, upper boundary for this class is the lower boundary for the next class. Upper boundary for this class is the lower boundary for the next class, and so on so forth. Okay, so this is how we want to find the class boundary. This one is just example. But then now we are talking about relative frequency distribution. So sometimes the frequency, I just removed the frequency. Okay, sometimes the frequency of the class can be expressed as a fraction. Okay, and this fraction sometimes presented in either fractional, decimal ataupun percent. So kita boleh represent our frequency of the class sama ada dalam bentuk fraction, dalam bentuk decimal ataupun dalam bentuk percent. So macam mana kita nak buat dalam bentuk fraction, dalam bentuk decimal ataupun dalam bentuk percent? Okay, the important things is you need to know the total value of your frequency. Okay, so sekarang you plus 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 13 is 22, plus 9 is 31, plus 5 is 36, plus 3 is 39, plus 1 is 40, so your total is 40. So now if you want to represent your frequency in terms of fraction, it will be the frequency of that class per of fraction with the total. So it will be 4/40 here. Okay, ataupun awak boleh kecilkan dia menjadi menjadi 1/10, kecilkan fraction pecahan ni. So untuk kita tulis this frequency dalam bentuk fraction, dia akan jadi 5 per dengan total number 40. This one is 13/40. So 5/40 ni pun awak boleh kecilkan, dia jadi 1/8. Okay, so you can write either this one or this one, both are correct. Either 5/40 or 1/8, both are correct. And then for this class, the fraction will be 9/40, because 9 is the frequency of the class and 40 is the total number of the whole frequency. And then we have 5/40 here, or you can write it as 1/8, simplify the fraction, or you for this one you will have 3/40, and this one you will have 1/40. So means that all the frequency can be represented in terms of fraction. That one is the one choice. Or you can also represent your frequency in a decimal point. So decimal point ni adalah nombor perpuluhan. So macam mana kita nak represent the frequency dalam bentuk perpuluhan? So ini hanya senang, sebab tadi kita dah tulis dalam bentuk fraction, right? So we will have 4/40 here, this one is 5/40, this one is 13/40, this one is 9/40, this one is 5/40, this one is 3/40, and the last one is 1/40. So how can you write this one in terms of decimal number? You just need to get your calculator. Okay, so please take your calculator and just find the value of 4/40, or 4 divided by 40. Okay, so you can tekan your calculator, 4 bahagi dengan 40. So you will get the value is equal to 0.1. So the decimal is 0.1, sorry. So the decimal is 0.1. Okay, and then we find what is 5 divided by 40. Okay, so 5 divided by 40 is 0.125. And then 13 divided by 40, so 13 divided by 40 is 0.325. Okay, and then 9 divided by 40, so 9 divided by 40 is 0.225. And then we have 5 divided by 40, the same as the previous one, 0.125. And then we have 3 divided by 40. 3 divided by 40 is 0.0275, and 1 divided by 40 you will have 0.025. Okay, so if you want to check whether the decimal here is correct or not, you just need to sum everything. Okay, and you must get the value of 1. Awak kena tambah sahaja semua ni dan awak kena dapat value 1. Kalau awak dapat value selain daripada 1, maksudnya there is somewhere, there is wrong somewhere. Adalah salah kat mana-mana yang awak kena check semula. Okay, so let's find either this one is correct or not. So saya tengah tambah 0.225 plus with 0.325 plus with 0.125 plus with 0.1 is equal to 1. So means that is correct. Okay, and the next one is to represent this in a percent form. Percentage, peratus. So peratus ni adalah macam mana nak dapat dalam bentuk peratus? Kita akan darab dengan 100. Nak darab apa dengan 100? Darab your decimal ni dengan 100. It's very easy. Okay, darabkan dia dengan 100. 0.1 times with 100, you will get 10 here. 0.125 multiply by 100, you will get 12.5. 0.325 multiply by 100, you will get 32.5. This one you will get 22.5. This one you will get 12.5. This one you will get 7.5, and the last one you will get 2.5. So this one is in terms of percentage. Okay, and for you to check whether the percent is correct or not, you just need to sum everything and get the value of total equal to 100. Okay, so let's sum it. 10 plus 12.5 plus with 32.5 plus with 22.5 plus with 12.5 plus with 7.5 plus with 2.5, and the total is 100. Okay, so this is what is called as a relative frequency distribution, di mana dalam relative frequency distribution we are representing our frequency either in the form of fraction, decimal or percent ataupun kesemuanya. Okay, you can construct your relative frequency distribution table by including the fraction, decimal and also the percentage. Alright, just now we have seen about the relative frequency distribution. Now we want to see about the cumulative frequency distribution. Kalau relative frequency distribution tadi, the frequency we represent the frequency in form of fraction, decimal or percentage. Okay, but then now if we have a cumulative frequency distribution, we will represent our frequency in a cumulative frequency form. Okay, where a cumulative frequency distribution shows a running total of the frequencies in the distribution. Cumulative ni maksudnya terkumpul. So kita akan kira ataupun letakkan cumulative frekuensi terkumpul untuk setiap kelas, di mana dalam kes kita ni kita akan consider less than cumulative frequency distribution, dan kita akan menggunakan the upper boundaries, okay, with the cumulative frequency untuk kita baca our cumulative frequency distribution table. Okay, so dia akan menunjukkan kepada kita the number of observation that have a value less than the upper boundaries of each class. Sekejap lagi saya terangkan. But then what is the important in cumulative frequency distribution, you need to have satu kelas sebelum kelas yang kita mula ni. Okay, kita mula dengan kelas 35 hingga 43, but then we need one class before our first class. Okay, so the first thing yang kita kena tulis adalah upper boundaries. So you need to remember macam mana nak cari upper boundaries untuk setiap kelas. Okay, upper boundaries untuk setiap kelas adalah 0.5 selepas 43, 0.5 after 43. Okay, 0.5 after upper limit. So we have our first upper boundaries here is 43.5, and here we have 52.5, here we have 61.5, here we have 70.5, here we have 79.5, here we have 88.5, and the last one is 97.5. That is the first important information that you need in cumulative frequency distribution, which is the upper boundaries. Okay, so what we need is the upper boundaries of the class before our first class here. So macam mana kita nak tahu upper boundaries untuk kelas yang tak wujud ni? Kalau awak tengok upper boundaries untuk kelas sebelum ini, kelas ini dia adalah the lower boundary kelas selepas dia. Okay, upper boundary kelas ini adalah the lower boundary kelas seterusnya. Upper boundary kelas ini adalah the lower boundary kelas seterusnya. Okay, so macam mana kita nak cari the upper boundary of the class before our first class is by looking at the lower boundary. So our lower boundary is 34.5. It will be the upper boundary for this class, the previous class. Okay, so you see, the lower boundary of this class is the upper boundary of the previous class. The lower boundary of this class is the upper boundary of the previous class. So the lower boundary of this class will be the upper boundary of the previous class. Okay, so now we have the upper boundary. So we want the cumulative frequency distribution. So how to calculate the cumulative frequency is by start it with the 0 value. We don't have any class actually at this one. At this line, we don't have any class. So our frequency is 0. Okay, so we will start the frequency with 0. So what is the cumulative frequency for the next class is by sum up this frequency with that class frequency. So 0 plus 4, you will have 4. And then you sum out this frequency with the class frequency. So 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay, so you have 9 here. And then 9 plus 13 is 22 here. 22 plus 9 is 31 here. 31 plus 5 is 36 here. 36 plus 3 is 39 here. 39 plus 1 is 40 here. And the 40 that you have here actually represent the whole number or the total number of your frequency. Your frequency here is equal to 40. That's why we call this one as a cumulative frequency. Kita kumpulkan. Okay, so apa maksud dia? Maksud dia adalah di bawah, okay, less than ni maksudnya kurang. Kurang daripada 34.5, we don't have any data. Kurang daripada 43.5, kita ada 4 data yang kurang daripada 43.5. Yang kurang daripada 52.5, kita ada 9 data. Kenapa kurang daripada 52.5, kita ada 9 data? Sebab yang ini pun kurang daripada 52.5, dia sampai 52 je. Dan yang ini pun kurang daripada 52.5. So we sum up them together, then we have 9. Kurang daripada 61.5, kita ada 22 data. Kenapa 22? Kurang daripada 61.5. So sampai 61 ada 13. Sampai 52 ada 5. Sampai 43 ada 4. Semua sekali kurang daripada 61.5. So 9 campur 13 is 22. That's why kita panggil this one as a cumulative frequency. Frekuensi yang terkumpul. Kita kumpulkan dia. Next, kurang daripada 70.5. So kurang daripada 70.5, start daripada ini. 9 tambah 13 tambah 5 tambah dengan 4. Kenapa kita kata dia semua ni kurang daripada 70.5? Sebab data ini sampai 70 je. So dia kurang daripada 70.5. Yang ini pun kurang daripada 70.5. Yang ini pun kurang daripada 70.5. Yang ini pun kurang daripada 70.5. That's why we need to sum all the frequency together. Okay, and then we have the cumulative frequency here, and this one is represent the less than cumulative frequency. Maksudnya kalau kita nak tanya, kalau saya nak tanya awak berapa frekuensi untuk data yang kurang daripada 79.5, so awak boleh terus tengok dekat mana, dekat cumulative frequency. Awak tak payah kira satu-satu. Okay, kalau tak awak kena kira. Contohnya saya tanya, okay, berapa data yang kurang daripada 79.5 contohnya. Okey, sini 79.5. So data yang kurang daripada 79.5 maksudnya 79.5 ke bawah ada ni 5. Yang ini pun kurang. Yang ini pun kurang. Yang ini pun kurang. Yang ini pun kurang. So if you don't have the cumulative frequency, you need to sum all this one. But then, because we already have the cumulative frequency, if I ask you, what is the frequency for the data that is less than 75.9, you can directly see the cumulative frequency, which is 36 data. Okay, so this is called as a cumulative frequency. And if we want the cumulative relative frequency, means that we want our frequency to be represented in the form of fraction or percentage or decimal macam tadi lah. Okay, so kita just ambil dia punya cumulative frequency ni. So 0 perkan dengan total adalah 40. So 0 per 40, 0% lah. Okay, then we have 4 over 40. Then we have 9 over 40 here. We have 22 over 40. we have 31/40, this one is 36/40, this one is 39/40, and the last one is 40/40. Okay, this one will give you 100% the total number. So this one yang the rest ni awak boleh cari. Okay, cari decimal darab dengan 100, then you will get the percentage. So this one is the cumulative relative frequency. Okay, so we combine the cumulative frequency with the relative frequency, so we get these things. Okay, so cumulative frequency ni actually adalah frekuensi terkumpul. Okay, and for our case, we only considered the less than cumulative frequency, frekuensi yang kurang daripada less than. So bila kita cakap pasal less than cumulative frequency, we are dealing with the upper boundaries and the cumulative frequency. Ada dua benda penting yang awak kena tahu. Yang pertama upper boundaries, dan yang kedua adalah cumulative frequency.